Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divine Feminine Healers podcast. It is your host, Angelica here. And in today's episode, I wanted to give a full July astrological update as to what the heck is happening in the sky right now, because we have two retrogrades that are really significant and impactful on us right now. And there's lots of transitions and shifts that are happening. And so I also want to take some time to ground us in a meditation, and I'm going to send us off with a channeled message from my guides to yours. So there's lots of fun, spiritual, groovy things happening in this episode. Now, if you've just been tuning into the Divine Feminine Healers podcast these past couple of months, you've noticed that they are all solo casts, which I have loved doing. I've had so much fun getting back to using my voice and sharing my wisdom. I've always had a million ideas to share, and I love this platform to be able to share this wisdom so that you can learn how to identify your imbalances, how to identify these different energies that are happening in the sky and within our bodies and how they're connected to our healing journey and to our business. Like all these things that I love and I use for myself, I love sharing them to you on this platform, especially because on Instagram and all the other social media platforms, I only get a little bit of time with all of you. And in this platform, I could really dive deep into all these topics. So it's been my pure love and joy to share this these past couple of months. But on the other end of the side, I have totally missed having guests on this podcast. And when I started this podcast in 2019, I very much had a new guest on the podcast every week, which I love because I've been so honored to have total experts in Ayurveda and yoga and Reiki and in spirituality and the healing sciences. It's been mega. And I'm still like to this day blown away by all the guests that have been on this podcast. However, in the beginning of this year, I was really feeling kind of blah of finding new guests. I was feeling uninspired. I felt like I was just trying to fill the calendar just to fill the calendar. And any of you know me, I've been so intentional from day one about my business of literally every little piece that I put into it. I want there to be a purpose. It's so important to me. And I knew that was a time for redirection for my podcast. So I didn't want to stop the podcast. I needed to take a pause, and I realized I just wanted to share all the things that I love sharing all the time. I wanted to make these podcasts episodes smaller, short, and sweet so that you can go on with your day and have space to create and heal and do all the things that you love. And now I'm super excited to get back into having guests on my podcast. So I decided I'm about to have an expert each month who is going to be exploring these topics. Some things that I've been really interested in is having hormone experts on the podcast, having experts in intuitive healing, into psychic mediumship, all these things that I'm so interested in. And I've already had some of the conversations and I cannot wait to share those episodes with you. But for those who are listening on a regular basis and been wondering where all these guests are, sit tight. And next month we are going to have our first guest on the podcast again. Okay, let's get into the astrological update for right now at the end of July. So as I've already mentioned in previous podcast episodes, Saturn went in retrograde and is retrograding in Aquarius. So if you've been feeling like you're getting a lot of challenges, like you're getting a lot of obstacles, like you're getting a lot of dead ends in your life, or you just feel like the responsibilities in your life are just like stacking, you're getting hit with like such harsh lessons and a harsh reality right now, Saturn is significantly impacting your chart and impacting your life right now. This may mean that you're going through a Saturn return. This may mean that you're in a Sadasati, which is about a 7.5 year period where Saturn goes over your moon, and we're significantly ruled by Saturn during that time. All these different ways to show that Saturn can be impacting you. And go back into that episode where I talk about Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, because I give so many healing remedies for how you can start to learn and work with Saturn. I just got out of my Saturn return, so I'm fresh with all the ideas and all the learning lessons. And I'm sending you a lot of love because I know it could feel really harsh. I know it could feel really lonely and dark in the beginning. And I promise you, there is the best growth and shifts that happen when you sign up to really work with Saturn's energy and start to heal all the lessons that he is giving you. It truly is a gift, and I know that's really hard to admit in the beginning. So take as much time as you need to start to work with these energies, and definitely check out that podcast episode if you need some more support there. Now, Saturn will remain retrograde until about November, and we have another fabulous planet that just went in retrograde, which was Venus. Venus went in retrograde last week. and it's retrograding in the sign of Leo. So first, let's just talk about what Venus represents. I love Venetian energy because I am a fellow Venetian, meaning that Venus rules a lot of my chart. And that's mainly because I'm a rising Taurus and Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So if you have a lot of Taurus and Libra in your chart, for example, then you're going to feel when Venus makes these shifts, especially when Venus retrogrades. So what does Venus represent? It represents a lot of feminine energy, like beauty and love and food and enjoyment, relationships, and pleasure. It also has to do with sex, our sexuality, our sensuality, all these topics. So already start to think and feel in your body what are the messages around these topics that are being pulled up to the surface to you right now. And then let's take a magnifying glass and get even more particular and say that Venus is in Leo right now. Leo is the sign of empowerment, of confidence, of pride, of being bold, of the ego, and also a lot of our identity and our visibility. So, again, underneath this lens of Venus and now in Leo, what is starting to kind of collect us and what is starting to rise up to the surface? What are you sensing in this moment? How is this already starting to impact and affect your life? The way that I am really experiencing and seeing this Venus retrograde in Leo happening is a lot around our relationship to pride. Of course, Leo has to do with pride because Leo represents the lion, and the pride and the family and that bond and that connection is super important for Leos. So pride can show up in a lot of ways, but of course, Venus just went retrograde. So yes, this is going to affect our relationships. You might have heard, if you're already following a lot of spiritual or astrological accounts, they're talking about this is when your exes start to show up or past relationships, and that can totally happen. What I am sensing and noticing that before it really happens in relationships, it's going to show up first in the relationship with yourself. And so, what is your relationship to yourself right now? And what are the things that are rising up to the surface, particular having to do with Venus? Now, when a planet is in retrograde, it does not mean a bad thing. I know we have that in our minds a lot of times. We're like doom and gloom when a planet is in retrograde. It's actually a gift because it's an opportunity for us to slow down in that area of our life that needs some cleanup work. Otherwise, we would just be moving forward and constantly cycling through those conflicts and carrying on the weight and the garbage from those challenges and not having an easy, more graceful way to move forward. So think about retrogrades as an opportunity to press pause in slow motion in that area of your life that needs more attention, that needs more sound solutions. What a gift. So Venus in Leo and in retrograde, you're going to start to notice certain patterns coming up that you may have thought that you have already circled and taken a good look at. It may feel like, oh, this challenge again that's coming up in my life, but it's coming up to be healed on a deeper level this time. It doesn't mean that you didn't do fabulous healing work in the past. It just means that now there's more refinement. We need to get more specific, and we want to make your vessel even clearer than it was before. So when we think about how this can be affecting the relationship that we have with ourselves and our own inner pride, what is the relationship that you have with pride? Where do you hold on to pride into your life? And there's two sides of the coin here. So pride can definitely be confidence, knowing what your gifts and skills are and owning the room. That's why I love Leo energy so much. It's like, I'm ready to be visible. I know who I am. I'm ready to be paid for my gifts, show up for my people. That's who I am. There's such a definitive sense of their identity. On the other side of that, too, there can be a lot of clinging to the identity where there's too much pride that the ego doesn't isn't allowed to fall away and break apart, which it naturally needs to do on a regular basis. There has to be a consistent amount of ego deaths on your spiritual journey in order for you to grow. You can't keep wearing the same coat and shoes that you've worn your whole entire life. You have to let those layers go so that you can step into the new, so you can feel fresh and have bright energy. So, a good question to start pondering is, where are you holding on to pride into your life? What is an area of your life where you feel that you are so afraid maybe of what other people will think of you if you do step into a newer identity or if you let go of this old identity? What is that relationship to pride in your life? Where have you felt like I won't be loved or I won't be accepted if I don't stick with this identity that I've had. So many people know me as this persona, as this mold. Are they going to still love me if I choose to break away this mold? And the next question for that too is to really reflect on, how is this pattern similar to what's been coming up into the past? So let's look at the last time that Venus retrograded in Leo, which was in the summer of 2015. My favorite way to do this is I just look through my photos, I go through 2015 and I look through the summer, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. So if you're like, I have no idea. Also, if you journal regularly, looking back at past journals is a great way to kind of reflect and see, okay, what was going on during that summer of 2015? Any milestones that have happened is a great time to look at that. So, what were the lessons that you were learning then? What were the challenges? What were the obstacles? And how are they mirroring the same lessons and obstacles that you're getting right now in your life? Because this is really closing out that chapter and closing out that loop. It's like, okay, we learned a lot of lessons within this whole time frame between 2015 to 2023, and now we're ready to close that story, close the book, end it. That's it. Now, what part of your ego needs to die in order to find real confidence and empowerment? That's the trick here, because we want confidence. We want you to feel prideful for the work that you do, but in a healthy way. So, what part of your ego really needs to wipe away? What identity are you willing to just crackle and leave to the side so that you can step into this new identity of what you really want? So, it's really good if you're, and sometimes this could be so hard to see what that is when you cling to that identity so much, when it's like your whole life has been viewed under that lens. It's really hard to even take a step back and see another way. So personally for me, the best way that I can really tune in from a non-judgmental place is just by tuning into my body. My body always speaks to me in loud messages when I need to really look at what's going on. And I see the body as not just the physical body, although the physical body sends really strong messages a lot of the time. I see the body as the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual body. So look at all these three bodies and where are the lessons showing up? I also love using the chakra system as a gauge because that really helps us to understand the connection between all of these three bodies. So, what chakra really is asking you to take a focus and to take a look at right now? And how is this tied to this theme and this pattern, this cycle that you want to close since that started with those challenges in the summer of 2015? And now you're closing the loop, you're ending that story, and you're learning the lessons that you needed to. What does real confidence and empower look like? Leave your ego aside. Leave the part of yourself that just naturally wants to die and to pull away. What is left? What does real empowerment mean when you are fully in this Venus and Leo energy? You know, Venus also has to do with money, pleasure, sex, relationships, beauty. How is that showing up for you? How do you feel empowered in those areas of your life? And which one in particular is feeling really challenged? And how can you feel more empowered? I guarantee you the way that you can feel more empowered is if you let go of your ego identity of what your relationship was to that thing so that you can create space for what wants to flourish. And the ego death is no joke. Like, it really sometimes will feel like you are actually dying. Sometimes it could feel like you're just falling into this black abyss and you're not sure if there's going to be a net underneath you. Sometimes it feels like you're drowning. Like, it is no joke. You can really feel these physical symptoms in your body. So I just want to take a breath for everybody here who's going through those transitions of an ego death right now. And I'm sending you so much love because I know how frightening that could be. There's so much fear that can rise up to the surface. But I also know on my healing journey, I do get a tinge of excitement when I do get that fear because I know I finally hit the nerve. I finally hit the point where I'm so scared of, and this is showing me exactly what I need to let go of. Wherever there is fear, is it showing you exactly where you have the opportunity to step back into your power. So really be with this fear. Allow it to just come up in every way that it needs to. For me, it shows up in my physical body, usually as anxiety. I'll get my heart racing. I'll feel tingly in my hands and my feet. I can get restless in my mind. I can feel really impatient. My mind can feel like it's going from one idea to the next and coming up with all these possible solutions just to keep my ego safe, and it feels chaotic. And I also know that I can just name this fear. I could really feel into it, allow it to be there and have space. And then underneath that, I start to feel this softer layer that's more grounded in truth and confidence and empowerment, that's actually telling me that I'm in the right direction and it's okay to move forward. It's okay to be afraid and to have those feelings while also trusting that this is the next part of your path. So we're in this time of transition. It's so important that you are on top of your grounding rituals. So what is grounding you right now? Is it walking with friends and talking with friends? Is it self-care rituals? Is it yoga? Is it meditation? Is it just being out in nature? There's so many different ways that we can really ground down. It doesn't have to look spiritual at all. Is it having nourishing foods? But make sure during this transition of an ego death and an ego rebirth that you are really tending to yourself. And it's going to be interesting. So we're just in the beginning of this Venus in retrograde. Like I said, it'll be out of retrograde in September. So we've got like a full month of lessons here. Like I said, Venus is the planet of relationships. So this may bring up relationships to mother, to father, or friends, or romantic relationships. But first, it's always going to start with the self. And we as healers and intuitives are so on top of our healing journey. This work can be so much more easeful and graceful if we're doing the cleanup work already around ourselves. So take some time to pause and really reflect on those questions and what is breaking down within you. And then you'll start to see how it's going to be reflected in your outer world and what relationships need to shift and change because you're changing. And that's going to bring even more growth and nourishment. So we're going to have more to come on the Venus in retrograde, especially how it's pertaining to our external relationships. But I really want to save this episode for how it's affecting our internal relationships right now. Now, other planets that are affecting this Venus in retrograde, Mars and Mercury are actually conjunct with Venus. This means that they're within a 10-degree distance from each other and they're all in the same house. So that means that there's a lot of impact of these planets together. What does that mean? Well, when we're out of balance with Mars energy, we can feel really impatient. So if you're feeling impatient, if you're feeling hot-headed, if you're feeling quick-tempered, Mars is very close to Venus right now, and it's putting pressure on that internal ego identity thing that's happening. On top of that, Mercury is there. When Mercury is out of balance, when we're not in a right relationship with Mercury, we can feel very airy in the head. We can have anxiety. We can feel like our mental stamina is all over the place. And that's why I said it's so important to have our grounding rituals during this time, especially when Mercury is so close, so that we can feel really grounded in our physical bodies. That's truly all grounding is how can I come back to my physical body? That's why eating grounding and nourishing foods, it reminds us, oh yeah, I'm a physical body and I'm connected to the earth because I'm consuming the earth element. Okay, so there's lots of shifts and there's lots of changes that are happening. But there is some great news that's happening because when we go through these shifts and changes, we actually get what we want. It's so funny because people think a lot of times spirituality and astrology is so like woo woo and fairy and positive, and then they don't realize like no, it's actually a lot of work, and you're looking at your challenges and you're looking at the parts of you that are you find are deemed unlovable, and you have to learn how to love them. Like there's so much growth that happens. So I'm sending to everyone so much love, but there's also so much fun that comes from the other end of this. There can be a death of the type of relationships you were calling in before, and you're actually going to be calling in new and more fruitful relationships because you've now built a closer relationship to yourself. There's so much beauty that can come out of this retrograde. Now, I do want to prep everyone that we have a full moon coming up in Capricorn. This is on August 1st. And this is actually super great because Capricorn is very much an earth sign and a fixed sign. So it could be very grounding for us, especially for those of us who are really feeling these transitions and ego shifts that are happening, this death and rebirth cycle. So I anticipate a really grounding and nurturing full moon on the horizon, and I'll have more to come on the full moon in Capricorn. And if you are really feeling these transits and you're wanting some help navigating all these energies, you can join the Divine Healers community for our full moon live Kundalini experience. Every full moon we do a Kundalini class because this helps to work with the chakras. So if that chakra that you've been working on and trying to heal, we can really activate that and learn how to move that energy with the Kundalini, with using breath work and mantras and mudras. This also helps to regulate our nervous system so that we can clear out these old programs. And once we clear out those old programs, then we are connected to the divine. We get intuitive messages, intuitive wisdom. We feel connected to our highest self. It's literally that euphoric feeling that we're all striving for to get in our yoga class. That's why it's called yoga bliss. So if you're really feeling these energies and you want some support moving through them, you're welcome to join our full moon in Capricorn live Kundalini ceremony, which will be this Tuesday, August 1st. And I also have some really fun in-person events coming up in Los Angeles for those who are local. I'm super excited. I'm going to be doing an Ayurveda and hormone healing workshop. This is at Riverbank, LA. It's going to be Tuesday, August 8th. And Riverbank, LA, it's in the West Side. And what I'm going to be doing is teaching you how to understand what specific imbalance and finding the root cause of your hormonal imbalance under the lens of Ayurveda. And we're going to be sipping Ayurvedic tea and having some sweet treats and really understanding how you can start healing your hormones and aligning with nature with the beautiful science of Ayurveda. I'm super excited. I'll have that link below if you want to join that. I'm also going to be hosting an Ayurvedic dinner party at the end of the month, which I'm so excited for. Just a yummy 4-course meal. We'll have mocktails, lots of deep, heady conversations, and it's all going to be geared around healing for Pitta season. I'll have the date and details for that to come. And then I'm also hosting a live in-person full moon ceremony at the end of the month. It's going to be Thursday, August 31st. And we're going to have that in Ocean Park in Santa Monica. So I'll have all of those events linked below for those of you who are local who would like to join. I'm so excited to be getting back into doing in-person events. I've been wanting to do them for so long, and finally it all started to connect and align, and I get to see all of your beautiful faces in person. That is truly where I live, is being able to be in that closer vicinity with all of you. All right, everyone, as promised, let's end the session with a grounding meditation, and I will share an intuitive message for those who are tuning in to this episode. So if you do not have access to finding stillness in your body right now, maybe pause and come back to this episode, make sure it's downloaded. And for those of you who are able, plant your feet on the earth, or you can take this in Siddhasana, so just crossing your ankles and your knees open wide. Relax your palms onto your thighs and close your eyes and come into the center of your body. Find stillness in your body. Drop your shoulders. And notice anywhere else in your body you're holding on to tension, maybe your jaw, your face, your pelvis. And just notice where that tension is in your body. And if you'd like, you can associate a color or an object to that place in your body. And watch, feel, witness this start to leave your body down through the base of your spine, moving out of your legs, through the soles of your feet, and being absorbed by the strength of the earth's energy. And just continue that process, locating where you feel the tension, the stress in your body, identifying it, creating space for it. And then feel, witness, and release that energy out through your root chakra, being absorbed into the transformational energy of the earth. Now pull your awareness to the parts of your body that are currently connected to the earth. Maybe that's your sit bones, the soles of your feet, the back of your legs. And just tune into that sensation. And start to visualize the energy of the earth. Maybe it's the color green, maybe it's the color red. And visualize the energy of the earth moving up into the parts of your body that are touching, swirling around your calves and your knees, Moving up through your thighs, your hips, your pelvis, up through your belly, your chest, your shoulders, out through your arms, circulating back to your heart, extending up through your throat, your third eye, and crown. And for a few moments, just continue to visualize running this earth energy all the way down through the soles of your feet, up through the crown of your head. Noticing what sensations and qualities the earth feels like in your body. Grounding, secure, steadfast. Nourished, supported, and allowing yourself just to meditate on that sensation of being held and supported and safe and nurtured. And now just noticing this earth energy in your body and how it feels. And knowing that you always have this feeling of safety available to you at any time. And in this place of safety is when we could truly heal. When the nervous system is calm and grounded, we can make sound decisions from this place, from this center. And just take a deep inhale and an open mouth exhale. And take another deep inhale. And open mouth exhale. This time gently open your eyes, slowly roll your neck, gently coming back into your space. And really taking your time here to awaken your fingertips and your toes. Again, just gently acclimating back into your space. Maybe twist your body from side to side. Beautiful, everyone. Know that you can go back and listen to that meditation throughout this month if you're ever feeling chaotic, if you ever feel like the ego is really having this dramatic death and you need some ground to stand on. Meditation has been one of the greatest gifts for me. And a message that I wanted to share from my guides to you, they showed me that there's very much for a lot of us healers this inner fire that's really been building and brewing that you've been tending to for a while, whether that's you've been going after things that you're really interested in, whether that's really finding things that you're passionate about and really going after things that light you up. It's like there's been this tending to this candle flame that we have within us, which has been so great. And while this candle has been burning, we may have been felt the impatience of, well, what's it going to turn into? Well, when am I going to get that manifestation? And when is it going to come into full bloom? And there's a certain level of impatience. And that actually stifles that fire and creativity, is putting that pressure on it of it has to be something. Because the truth is that what we can see about those manifestations is kind of a limited view from where we're at right now. When we're going through these growth stages and transitions, we can only know so much because we are still healing, and we can only see from the level of awareness that we have in this moment right now. So it really comes back to trusting that what you desire for sure is meant to come into full bloom. It's meant to be there. And just because it's not here yet doesn't mean that it's going to. And the way that we can really start to bring our passions to life is by acknowledging all the small ways that we are already embedding them and infusing them into our life right now, and being so grateful at those that small little sizzling flames that are coming up to the surface right now. It may not be that where we expect ourselves to be 5 to 10 years from now, but can we be really grateful for how our fire is being ignited in this moment, for what is lighting us up right now, and be so excited for where we are at, because the universe is always guiding us and trusting us, and knows that we are ready to receive that next level when we have fully integrated and when we're ready to actually step into that next identity for ourselves. Everything is in divine timing. And I'm sending you all so much love and so much healing energy as we move through these transitions. I'll have more to come on Venus in retrograde. If you're local in LA, I would love, love, love to meet you in person. We can hang out at any one of my 3 events this month, and there's going to be more events to come. If you love this episode, please share it with a friend or family member who would love it too. And I would adore you if you commented, rated, and reviewed on either Spotify or Apple Podcast. And that is all I have for you today. I am super excited for everyone to continue on their healing journey. Sending you all so much love and light, and I'll see you next time.